Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right back into the games.
Let's do it.
Spring Split 2023, Week 2, Day 1. Starting off with Cloud9 CLG. And Fudge showing some versatility. He's not just a Cassante one trick. He can play Fiora too. Dokla picked the Cassante, and Contracts picking the Wukong. It's kind of funny. CLG was trying to beat C9 at their own game, it kind of looked like, except for the Seraphine Karma, which I don't know what that was supposed to do. I guess their idea was maybe we have Oriana Ball, we have Seraphine, AoE, and Karma speed up. We can just ram the Wukong into their team. Cloud9 played well, drafted well against this though, with the Callista Caitlyn lane, which pretty interesting. I haven't seen too much Callista support, so I was not anticipating that. But it makes sense for a guy like Sven who used to play AD carry, who's very well versed in Callista, to be able to play that in the support role. And you just have a lot of range, a lot of mobility. Diplex on the Ari. I think this was his first game on a ranged melee, or I mean a ranged mid laner that was not melee. I think last week he only played melee mid laners. But yeah, I mean Cloud9 26-minute win really kind of just steamrolled him. Basically a team gap. I don't have too much on here. Fudge, he's playing for an MVP though this split. I think that's gonna be a talking point all year long. Well, all split long. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had. What about you, Tucker?
Yeah, you mentioned Fudge is going to be competing for an MVP, and you mentioned it last week too. And I think that you know a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys are elite. I mean, that's the reality of this. But for Fudge to do what he's doing, um, 3 games in a row now, and again we'll talk about tomorrow. Um, we'll talk about week 2 tomorrow, but to see Fudge do this again into Cassante is fascinating. I think that obviously he's the story of the game. Um, but we get down to Blabber and Diplex. By the way, great game, great game on Ari here.
Mm-hmm. He was
Really enjoyable.
yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, it's a team gap. And I don't, I agree with you that it's a draft gap. I don't really understand the Seraphine Karma either. I would rather have seen Poom play Seraphine and Luger switch it up a little bit. Because I understand a Seraphine support pick in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you talk about the Callista range. Well, you had that range with Seraphine too. I
Yes.
don't know why you play her at 80 carry. Especially in the Caitlyn,
Well,
where she's just gonna stand back and snipe you anyway.
yeah, and I think part of it comes from they had already drafted an AD topside, and so now they're a little stressed for options. However, Cloud9 did the same thing and didn't really care. So it's kind of it's kind of fascinating, like the mindset between the coaches maybe on that one, because you look at Cloud9. I mean, their only magic damage here is Ari. They
Yep.
just don't care. But you know what that comes from also is that they just know they're better.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you can pick whatever the hell you want to play. Like, and it's a little come down to earth week for a lot of the mid tier teams. CLG, TSM dropping games this week. Liquid winning games. We'll talk about that later. And I did forget to mention. Thank you for reminding me that we are only covering day 1 today, and then we'll cover day 2 probably tomorrow, and then we'll get those uploaded hopefully before LCS on Thursday. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, 26-minute game, kind of a stomp. Not really much to say. A lot of mid-tier games this week, would you say?
Yeah. And that was frankly not to be expected. Because looking at the schedule of games that we had this week, I think we had a lot of games that were set up to be big games, including the FlyQuest Cloud9 game, which again we'll talk about tomorrow. That was not a close game. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about here. If you could just look at statistics alone, and you can see the game at face value there. No towers for CLG. You have 5 kills in 26 minutes. You get 1 dragon. You don't. You did nothing against Cloud9. Um, there's a reason that I mentioned last week. Excuse me. That we'll see on Dignitas and um, on TSM. I should have said it for CLG as well. I I more than you. We both hyped them up last week. Um, but this was a come to Jesus moment for them. And this is the CLG that we know. And obviously we'll see next week if they're able to, or this week if they're able to find themselves a little bit more. But what we saw this week was was not a lot of fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have for this game.
Okay.
And we'll let's get on to Golden Guardians and
Yes.
FlyQuest.
Yeah. Look at that vision score from Sven. That's incredible. Sven had 114 vision score on Callista support. That's crazy. Um, yeah. So Golden Guardians and FlyQuest, and boy, I tell you, I feel bad for the Golden Guardians. I do. I think that this team can succeed if given opportunity. I think they just played basically the hardest stretch of games in the first 2 weeks that they can. Honestly, their schedule gets easier from here, and I think they could easily rise to a sixth place team by the end of this split. 6-7, I think, would be my peak for them. I think the only problem is only 2 out of 5 of their players are really stepping up and performing. But I think who he's a good player. Stixay, if the meta shifts a little bit more for like I don't know, like more hyper carry characters like Jinx or Tristana. I think Stixay would really thrive in that kind of environment. And then if Licorice can just find like a tank, like a if Maokai ever goes back to top, or maybe they play some Zac top. I don't know what or Ornn. I mean Ornn seems to be doing fine as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think Golden Guardians actually had a bit of a handle on this game early. You can see the kills were close. It was 6-9. FlyQuest ended up coming to a win with a 10K victory, but it took 38 minutes. And boy, I tell you, FlyQuest, all all roads lead to Prince. He is the heart of this team, and he just keeps making it look easy. It's really incredible to watch a player of this caliber in the North American LCS. I mean, if Prince could have had his pick of the litter. He could have been playing in China or Korea and playing in a real. I mean, I don't want to say a real league, but a league that has more fitting competition for a player of his skill set and caliber.
yeah,
But man, yeah, FlyQuest keeps it pushing. Golden Guardians gave him a fight, gave him a game. Gory on his first game with the team looked pretty good on Azir. I liked what I saw from him. He had some good shuffles, um, and I think River, although the stat line doesn't show too much, I thought his Poppy pick was pretty interesting, and yeah, I think Impact just played a really good game on Gwen, kind of shut the Cassante down. Spica does what he does. He's just a solid jungler, and you give him a pick like Wukong, he's gonna make it work, make things happen. But yeah, I thought good, entertaining game. Um, and I'm proud of the way Golden Guardians battled, but hopefully things pick up for them in the next couple weeks here.
yeah. I was trying to figure out how to angle this game because I think I have to take the first. Let me just take the angle of in defense of Golden Guardians. Um, and I think you hit on it. This was a tough first couple weeks for them. Um, but this game, they the first 20 minutes or so, really till you saw the first Baron spawn. Uh, I don't know if I would go as far to say as they had it in hand, but they were competing, and I don't think that comes down to FlyQuest being sloppy in any way. I just think that Golden Guardians, frankly, has a better, not better, but a pretty efficient early to early mid game,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's half the battle.
Yeah,
I like Golden Guardians draft here.
me too.
I do think the Poppy pick is fun. Um, Even into Wukong, I think it can be effective. The issue is it's Spica, and that's going to be hard for anybody for anybody to compete against.
Yeah.
Um, Stixay and Huhi, I agree with you on Stixay's picks, but with Lulu next to you, you got to put up something better than 1, 2, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
They somehow, and obviously with the next game, we're going to see the polar opposite. They made Zeri and Lulu look mortal,
Yeah.
and that's just not something that we see very often.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to dive into Prince because you pretty much landed with your point there. Just a really fun game from him on Lucian. Winsome, huge game on Nami. Nami is super strong at the pro level. I would like to see her pick rate to see what she's looking like just in North America. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, you know, you get Soul, Kimtech Soul especially, and then you have your Baron buff into win the game. That's going to be it. And if Golden Guardians can figure out a way to somehow develop some consistency in that late game, yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason they can't finish sixth or seventh. The top five, I think we kind of have a good handle on what it looks like even this early. But yeah, man, 6 and 7, that's a fair play for them. And especially after a shitty 0-3 start.
Mm-hmm.
That's not out of, if that's not out of the realm of possibility, that's pretty interesting for them. But yeah, man, huge from the bot lane. Um, Vikla didn't really do much. I mean, 0-1 and 2, he was there, he was present. He was around in team fights. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to talk tomorrow about FlyQuest C9 because we got a lot of action there. But this game, honestly, fairly quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of one of those 38-minute grind it out type of games.
Yeah. Couple notes I wanted to add on to that. I actually thought who he Stixay did what he could in lane because who he did roam at 6 minutes to go mid to get first blood on Vikla to help get Gory ahead, and that kind of snowballed Golden Guardians early game and helped stabilize their gold, and just it was a good way to get the game going for a team that was struggling. And I think that was a good call. But at the same point, at the same time, leaving a Zeri alone in a Lucian Nami lane is just not ideal at all. You can't really do that in
No,
this comp. And like you said, that you wanted to see Stixay 1, 2, and 4 more involved. I mean, he finished the game with 11,554 damage on Zeri. That's just not gonna cut it. I mean,
nope.
Licorice outdamaged him with a full tank build Cassante. And you can say Cassante's broken, busted, you build full tank, whatever. But I mean, his counterpart in Prince did 30,855 damage. I don't know. I mean, that's
While we're here, can you grab that damage stat from Double Lift in that next game real quick?
yeah,
See
yeah,
the comparison there.
yeah. Yeah, that's fine by me. Doublelift did 29,503 damage on Zeri.
And moving on, that's all we needed.
Last thing I want to round out. Rivers Poppy. Again, like I said, I like the pick, but 1-1-1 isn't gonna cut it. And if you waste flash to get a first blood mid lane, you gotta have more dragon control. They only had one dragon. They had to poppy hammer Spica out of the pit to stop a dragon soul. It didn't matter. FlyQuest still got the soul later on anyway. 1-1-1 from your jungler is it's a little depressing. So
Yeah.
all right, let's move on to 100 Thieves, Dignitas, and I'm ready to say it. I miss relegation. Get Dignitas out of this league right now. These guys are. I don't care if you call them washed. I don't care if you call them scrubs, frauds, any sort of the factor. I cannot stand to watch this team. This might be my least favorite team to watch in LCS since I don't even know since uh I don't know if I have. I'm speechless. I don't know if I have another team that comes to mind that I just hated to watch. I hate the way they play. There's no team coordination. Nobody trusts anybody. It's just not cohesive at all. And these guys just look like they're here for a paycheck. I don't know. They are sleepwalking through games, and it's 100 Thieves. So I think 100 Thieves is pretty clearly a top five team, maybe top three. I would say top four, probably fourth if I had to rank them by the end of the split. Um, but I mean, 100 Thieves are not a team that is unbeatable. We've seen them drop games, but this is just this is just embarrassing. Spawn is just not. He's not the AD carry answer. He's probably dead last in terms of damage, gold, probably everything laning wise. Yeah, closer, good game on vibe. Bjergsen's Azir is just immaculate as always. And here's what me and Tucker talked about before this week, even maybe in our video last week a little bit. I think we actually did say this last week. It was time to unleash Double Lift Seri. It was time. And boy, did we get it in spades this weekend. He is filthy on Zeri, and Busio on Lulu it's a perfect combo. It's a perfect match, and I'm pretty sure at the hug at the end of this game that Bjergsen and Doublift gave to Biofrost. Biofrost probably whispered, "Take me back, please. Bring me home." So that's all I have. I mean, we saw the damage Doublift did. It was domination. He commandeered this game, 16-4. 31 minutes was too long, honestly. 100 Thieves had this game in the bag forever. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean this is one of those things that was never really a game. Um, I'm gonna keep. I don't have a lot here, so I'm gonna keep it pretty short. The first thing I want to say, first thing I've written down here, what the hell is going on with Dignitas? And you know what? Thinking about it, I'm not sure I care. They suck. And this, I agree with you. 31 minutes is too long. And I think that really just comes down to kind of a. I mean, uh, Dignitas' early game was okay. Okay, that's all we have for him. Everything else was horrible. Um, so I don't really have a love for Dignitas. Yeah, bring relegation back because these guys genuinely are bad. This is not a case of CLG looking great and then realizing who they are. No, Dignitas is awful.
Yeah.
Um, there's nothing redeeming here. Yeah, I'm done talking about it. 100 Thieves though. I would say up to this point, um, this is probably the most complete game that we've seen from anybody this split. Just top down, the level of performances that are involved. I would say it's probably the most complete game we've seen. While they did just outplay Dignitas, that's not saying a lot. But if you look at objective play, you look at where 100 Thieves is across the map throughout the course of the entire game. They were just better. They were more complete. And to see that level of efficiency, especially after game one last week, and obviously they bounced back game two and got a big win. But to bounce back the way they have, and to look like this, yeah, I mean, I would say I probably have them third, in my power rankings in my head at this point. Um, Bjergsen heard me talking about the Azure mid, told me to shut up, and that's fair. I'll recognize that. That's my fault. But yeah, man, I do stand by my narrative with Double Lift. He is the best Zeri in North America, and again, I'm gonna say it again. I'd be hard pressed to have somebody tell me that he's not the best Zeri in the world. He's just so good. And
It's funny you're allowed to make that statement because we haven't seen any teams play each other in the world. I
no,
mean, yeah, in crossover. I mean, like NA
no,
versus EU
give
or
it time.
anything. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll find out in MSI if they make it. But go ahead.
no, all I was gonna say was if these teams if they want to injure 100 Thieves before we even get onto the Rift, you have to ban out the Zeri.
Hmm.
Now I'm not Double Lift's not a one trick by any means. He can pull out a lot of people and be effective, but if you're not going to ban Zeri, they're going to pick it, and they're probably going to beat you. And if you're going to just accept that, well, I mean, Dignitas sucks, but if you're going to just accept that, if you're FlyQuest or C9, you're going to give 100 Thieves the best chance they have to beat you. And if you want to do that, fine. But if you want to put them at a disadvantage, take out Zeri. Take Zeri out of the equation,
Yeah,
and we'll see how that works out.
yeah,
But yeah, man, that's all I have for it. I'm fed up with Dignitas. Get him out of here.
yeah. Last thing I'll add is that Dignitas is still not playing with their complete roster. Who knows when Ignar will be slotted in? He's still having visa issues, I believe.
I don't think
So
he's saving the day.
correct. Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Ignar's main kind of claim to fame is engage supports that roam. That's not the meta right now. So he's gonna have to. They're gonna have to figure something out, make something work. But I'm comfortable saying that Dignitas will probably be bottom two. Comfortably saying that. Which is crazy because you see the names on this roster: Jensen, Santorin, Armut, and Biofrost even, and it's shameful, really. So, all right, moving on to Immortals versus Team Liquid. This was a game that I felt Immortals really needed to get on track. Now you can say the same for Liquid. Liquid had the 0-2 start. But this is a game that I really felt like Immortals can win. They could win this game, and they probably should win this game. Um, but you know what this game comes down to, in my opinion? Kind of an org diff. Not necessarily a team diff or a player diff, but an org diff. Because I genuinely feel that the head honchos at Team Liquid probably came down to the player offices and said, "Hey, let's get it the fucking gear. Let's wake the fuck up, huh? O2? Not with what we do around here. This isn't fucking Golden Guardians or Dig or Immortals or any willy-nilly team. This is Team Liquid. We have expectations. And, they came out not a very exciting game, 26 minutes. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much to say here. Tactical. I said it last week. I don't know. I guess they just weren't listening. Why are we putting him on Draven again? Any reminders? Um, I, I don't. And then you see like they were getting clever here with Draven Nami rather than Lucian Nami, and then you got Lucian Sona. I don't know. I don't know. Summit still kind of making some brain dead plays every now and again. Revenge looked good. I feel like Revenge and a Blaze Olive maybe even are a little bit of like in team hell. Like I know Blaze Olive can play. This Cassidy stat line didn't really show it, but last split he could play a little bit. But yeah, I don't really know what Immortals need except new players, better players. But I don't really have much to say about this. This was a snoozer to me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean it was pretty boring. And I don't think I expected a 25-minute ass beating. Um, like we kind of saw with Immortals last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the interesting part about this game, I think, is actually Team Liquid's bot lane.
Okay.
With Yeon and Core JJ.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Lucian and Sona, I'm not sure I've seen that comp in pro play. I mean, this year for sure, I don't think we've seen it, but you don't see the Sona a lot. And I enjoyed it, but I will say that was pretty much what won them the game.
Mm-hmm.
This was a pretty clear a team diff when it came down to objective play. I mean, you got at 26 minutes you have Soul and Baron. Um, Immortals really couldn't do anything around the map, and I think that's what it came down to. If you're this early in the game, and I mean the game ended with 11-7 in kills, it's going to come down to objective if you're going to win this early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we saw the opposite take place in the game previously, um, or sorry, with the GG FlyQuest game, and it came down to a 38-minute game where FlyQuest kind of had to grind it out with a few dragons to get Soul, had to grind it out with that Baron to win the game, and that sometimes that just happens. With this, it was not the case. Immortals is bad, and I don't really have much here. I think at this point, the argument we have to have is who's worse between Immortals or Dignitas. I don't know. This is a trash versus garbage argument right now,
Yeah.
and I'm not. Obviously, this is the first one of the weekend for first one of the split for Team Liquid here. Let's pump the brakes. We'll wait and see.
I
Because while they
mean,
did play pretty efficiently,
mm-hmm.
I think we'll see in the long run what Liquid's going to put out here. Because I think you look at their roster and you look at what they were able to do when this game here. We'll see. But yeah, man, this was a pretty quiet, pretty boring 26-minute win for Team Liquid here.
No, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think what was impressive to me was that it just looked like Liquid was a little bit more coordinated this time around, mainly just objectives. I mean, I think now they might have a little bit of an identity, just playing around the map, getting towers, getting dragons, getting barons. I think that plays more to this team's strengths than maybe going for picks, going for skirmishes, and team fighting. I think we'll see from Team Liquid a more organized map play going forward. That's my thoughts. But yeah, 26-minute beatdown because Immortals couldn't get anything done around the map. And yeah, not much else to say. I think you covered all the bases. So let's just move on to the final game of the day. And boy, did they love putting TSM on at the end of the day. Uh, it was back down to earth for TSM, and Evil Geniuses has woken up a little bit. JoJo still kind of messing around, but dude, let me tell you, FBI is just so damn good. I think really they have found the perfect replacement for Danny in FBI. And I never thought that I'd be praising FBI like this. I always thought he was overrated, to be honest with you. But he really looks motivated and rejuvenated on Evil Geniuses, and I think he just has a lot of faith and really believes in this roster. He's playing with a great support in Vulcan, and they just look like they had a bit of a shaky week one, but they're just gonna shake that off and they're just gonna keep it pushing. Um, Someday looked really good on Gwen. Gwen is the type of champion to me that Someday really thrives on. A split pusher, a fighter, somebody who can solo their laner early. Inspired with a kind of a crazy Vi stat line: no kills, no deaths, 12 assists. You don't really see that on Vi
Rondo
jump.
stat line.
Yeah, for real. I mean, he was distributing the rock all day to FBI. And JoJo, 8 assists on the rise, pretty good. Still 4 deaths. I think a lot of teams are going to continue to pick on him if they can. I think he had one moment where he was like sticking around where he shouldn't have, and TSM was able to catch him out. But yeah, TSM just faltered here in the spotlight in the big moment. They did not get any dragons, no barons. They got worked on the map. It was a map diff, and TSM's gonna need to have some success in either their bot lane or their top lane. If they're gonna pick Galio here, uh, Boogie really never had a lane to gank, which is terrible for Wukong. They're just always TSM just seems to always be playing from behind, and to me, it kind of stems in this meta. It kind of stems your bot lane up. Your mid laners are kind of waiting for late game. They're not really doing too much. But if your bot lane can get an early lead, I think this really changes your entire game. If your bot lane can win, and it just comes down to the 2v2. It can occasionally come down to the 1v1 top. Like, if you have a strong Cassante player like Fudge, or he can play Fiora too, or a Someday or an Impact. Um, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I have to say. TSM got team gapped. Their draft wasn't that good to me. I don't really. I'm not sure what the Galio is supposed to do with 3 losing lanes or 2 losing lanes. I mean, and Boogie's Wukong is just like he has nowhere to go. So EG needed this rebound pretty badly, and they looked a little more focused this week. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I hugely impressive. I think honestly from EG here. They beat the brakes off of TSM. Um, I'm glad you mentioned the Galio pick. I, I wrote here that I don't really understand TSM's philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of this is prime reasoning here. What the hell? I don't. What do you do in picking Galio? And I think just even based on principle, what do you do in picking Galio?
Mm-hmm.
You are in prime time of week two. You're 2-0. You're coming into a game against a really good EG team. I don't care if they're 1-1. You
Yeah.
have a better record than them, and you whip out the Gallia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And it did not go very well.
No.
And it's not. I'm not saying this is Maple's fault because it's not. But I don't understand the pick. Um, yeah, I mean, I wish I had more to say about this because I was kind of looking forward to seeing what TSM put up this week. And it was a whole lot of nothing, especially with tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, but Gwen is a fair and balanced champion.
Mm-hmm. Gwen.
Immune, by the
Yeah.
way.
Gwen is immune. Gwen is immune.
Gwen is immune. I think we saw plenty of that in this game. It's just stupid as hell. Um, to do for Gwen to be able to do what she did to Cassante here. Um, yeah, I mean they got outplayed really at every facet. 27 and a half minutes roughly.
Yeah.
For this game to get in the way. Yeah, I mean it is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
We got more to say about TSM tomorrow. In a few respects. But I do want to give credit where credit's due to EG here because they played really a fantastic game. To do what they did to TSM in 27 minutes, to beat the brakes off of them. 2-0-15 from Vulcan, super inspiring for me. But yeah, man, everybody at every level, they really played really well. Jojo Pune, kind of quiet. 8 assists in the 2 kills, but kind of quiet throughout the game. I didn't hate his performance, but again, he's playing into a Galio that was kind of kind of already playing from underwater anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we'll see, and we'll talk obviously with game two tomorrow. But I'm still interested to see what TSM's going to put up, even what happened against 100 Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what they got if they're able to look in the mirror, if they're able to decide that they are actually a decent team, because I do think they are.
Yeah.
Um, but they've got to develop a consistent philosophy, and if they can't do that, they are going to end up sixth, seventh, eighth in this league, and they shouldn't. They should be able to finish, I think, fifth.
Yeah, I think just to cover on that, I don't think this week for TSM is too doom and gloom. I do agree with what you said that they were 2-0 coming into this game, and they maybe should have brought a little bit more energy out to really take a commanding 3-0. But they lost to Evil Geniuses, and then we'll talk about the game tomorrow. But it's already up on the screen, and anybody can look it up. I mean, they lost to good teams, so uh, I wouldn't hold my head too low or hang my head too low. Um, they lost to teams on the upper end of the bracket and they beat teams on the lower end of the bracket. I think that's what we're going to see from this team going forward. And yeah, I agree. I think fifth is probably their peak. I don't think they could get higher than that. I think more realistically, they'll settle at six, seven. Um, I just don't see a lot of the. I don't see enough firepower going forward, based off these two performances or these three performances. Um, I need to see more out of Solo. He can't keep doing this weak side Cassante. It's not gonna work.
No.
Cassante needs resources, especially against Gwen. And that was one of my favorite things was watching two champions with 200 combined years of game development experience going up against each other in the top lane. Twitch chat was real fun for that one. So I feel for them, but yeah, I wish they just had a bit more of an identity. I think TSM going forward maybe should try to give Solo some more resources. Maybe see if he can carry or Maple. Because I just don't think this bot lane's really gonna beat that many other bot lanes. And yeah, I think TSM just needs a little bit better of an early game. They'll figure it out late. I mean, they can team fight. This team does have a sense of direction, cohesion. I think. I think their coaching staff has the players all thinking, one way. And I think they wanted the Galio here just to try to help the lanes that were gonna be losing and maybe get a pick here and there, but yeah, just didn't work out for him. So, my last closing thought on the day was something we mentioned earlier, about Fudge playing for MVP, and I wanna make a note here that Fudge had a really good performance on Fiora, 4-0 and 9, and now it was against CLG or whatever.
Yep.
I think his main competition is going to be Prince. Um, I would say Impact just for the top lane kind of thing, but and what Impact brings to a team isn't always seen on the Rift, which I think kind of skews the MVP voting a little bit. You're really only able to see what's happening on the screen and in the Rift. You're not able to hear all the time what the players are commenting or who they're talking to or what their leadership looks like in game. Um, and man, I feel for Fudge. I think the problem with MVP votes sometimes is it comes down to what team wins more. And you look at Prince's performances, and I just think you're going to be hard pressed to not give Prince MVP, even if Fudge has a continued stellar season, or stellar spring split. So that was just my thoughts, real quick on it. I'm really excited for the matchup tomorrow, FlyQuest C9, that we'll talk about. But did you have any thoughts on the MVP action?
No, I think you're pretty accurate with it. Um, yeah, I mean, I think we just see Fudge so strong, regardless of who he's played. I mean, we've talked about the Cassante. I don't think we can really beat that one into the dirt anymore. But he looks great on Fiora, So I think that's something that we're going to keep our eye on, and I think it will be a two-man race between Fudge and Prince. Um, Give it till the halfway through the split, get to the first round robin. and I think we'll have a better idea. Because it's still super early, and
Mhm.
you've seen both of their teams play kind of very a roller coaster of talent
Mhm.
so far. Um, but yeah, outside of the MVP conversation, I do have a couple things I want to touch on,
Okay.
and that is my ass beating of the day and my will wait and see of the
Okay.
day.
All right.
Because I know I mentioned that a lot last week. Um, my ass beating of the day is Dignitas getting their asses beat by 100 Thieves. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the game. That was, I mean, it ended up being, I believe, 17-4, 16-4. Um, that includes that quadra kill by double lift to end the game.
Yep.
But that was never a game. That was an ass beating.
Yep.
And then we'll wait and see. I'm not taking into account day two because I'm still not convinced. But we will still wait and see on Team Solo mid. Um, I do want to see them look in the mirror because I don't believe that they're a horrible team, like I said.
Mhm.
But that's my will wait and see for the day.
Okay.
Um, and we'll double back and see what we have to say about them tomorrow
Mhm.
because my thoughts changed just slightly.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
All right.
but yeah, man, that's really
Okay.
it for me.
All right.
I think you mentioned it early on. This kind of a boring day of games.
Yeah.
Not many of these games were super close.
No.
I think really the closest one we saw was the Golden Guardians FlyQuest game,
It was. Yep.
and that's just because it was a 40-minute
Yep.
grind it out from
Yeah.
from FlyQuest and win late game.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, not a great day of games. And we saw that a lot last week too. I'd like to see some of these lower tier teams kind of light a fire under their asses and maybe step up and enjoy some of these games because if you just compete, at the end of the day, it's North America. Come on,
Yeah.
like you can steal a couple of these. So
Exactly.
yeah, man, I am excited to talk about tomorrow because I know we have some extracurricular stuff to talk about. I'll use that as a little tease.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, man, tough day of games. Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah, the look on Armut's face after they lost to 100 Thieves said it all. I mean, that was priceless. If you haven't seen that,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
gotta
yeah. The
try.
the yikes, the
Yeah,
yikes
yeah,
face.
big yikes face. So yeah, we'll leave it off there. That was a great discussion that we just had, and we'll be back tomorrow with day two. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Y'all take care.